right, got the kids back on Sunday. We, after a couple days off, had a real good week last week, practicing for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Gave them off Friday, Saturday. Got back in on Sunday, and we started a normal routine of a game week. Started introducing a lot of James Madison to them with them on Sunday. Had a school day yesterday, game prepped all day, and then we'll get back out there and have a normal Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday before traveling to D.C. on Friday to play the game on Saturday. I think our guys are excited about playing this game. Worried about that from the standpoint of having an off week this early in the year, them losing routine, which concerned me. But I like our team's mentality as far as wanting to get back out there and wanting to practice and wanting to looking forward to get out there and playing another game. Just some notes on James Madison. They're a very sound football team. Mickey Matthews has done a heck of a job over there in his 13, 14 years that he's been over there. Just getting to know a lot more about the program that he's built. They do a good job recruiting. They do a good job coaching. They got the best facilities in FCS, which is going to attract a lot of talent. They're in a very talent-rich state of Virginia, and it shows. They have good players, and what they do offensively, defensively, special teams is it always comes back to the same thing. They're very fundamentally sound. Their technique is tremendous. They play with a tremendous amount of effort. They play smart football. Offensively, they don't turn the ball over very much. They try to control the game defensively. They're the sound of tacklers as I've seen in quite some time. They play with a tremendous amount of effort, and they don't schematically do anything that's risky. Special teams, they got kicker, punter, snapper back. That you can tell they spend a lot of time with it, and everything they do is sound. So it's going to be a challenge for us coaches, and it's going to be a challenge for our players to get over there and get better on all three sides of the ball and try to make us better and doing it against a good quality football team. So with that said, we will take some questions here.
You said last week that you guys were going to put the ball down and really kind of get after it in practice. How did that go for you? What did you focus on while you were, I guess, looking internally last week?
Thought we got a lot done. Tuesday, Wednesday was a lot of football. Put them in 4 or 5 different situations and put the ball down and play. And the competition was high. I told them to compete within their position, told them to compete within offense and defense. Was happy about how that happened. Thursday we did more individual work and then let our young guys compete, which watching the young guys play 30-some snaps was fun to do. So, overall I was happy with it. If I wasn't happy with it, we would have practiced on Friday. And we didn't, so I think we got a lot done.
And after you scored 69 and you go for 3 days, what do you look at in particular in those practices, apart from just the going back and forth?
Offensively, the things that we wanted to work on offensively was keeping our time, and I thought we executed well. We talked about this as far as the Marshall game, and thought we executed well. I thought we were good on third downs. The biggest thing was keeping our tempo the same, which the best way to keep your tempo is to put the ball down and play football, and had a bunch of snaps to do that, and then focus on not turning the ball over. There's three plays that were reckless that I wasn't very happy about. Went backwards probably too many times. I think we went backwards 5 times, which that's too many for us. So that's been something that we've been working on. So if we can improve on those two things, then we became better offensively.
Mickey Matthews said, watching your film, that you get an awful lot of yards after the catch, that you do a lot of the simple sweep type things and gain yards. Is that schemed in, or is that just yards after catch? Is that individual effort?
It's a combination. It's part of our offense. We want to put the ball on the perimeter. We're going to use sideline to sideline. If they start smothering the line of scrimmage, then we have the ability to go that way as well. So it's just all part of our offensive scheme, and then the better our players are, the more they will get the ball downfield. So I'd say it's a combination of both. It's something we focus on. having guys that can, like Sean, who ran the ball well 65 yards after contact, and obviously Tavon and Stebbin that can make the first guy miss, it makes the offense better. Better players make the offense better.
You mentioned tempo several times as one of the things that you were pleased with in the Marshall game, but it's not like you guys were racing up to the line of scrimmage every snap and just trying to get the snap off as quickly as possible. What is it you hope to accomplish with tempo? Is varying it as much a part of anything as you're trying to do?
The better we are offensively, the more we can go fast. So we have the ability to get up and line it fast if we want to. You can watch that. I mean, there's the 3 snaps that Tavon scored, or the one drive that was 3 plays that Tavon touched it all 3 times. They snapped it very quickly. So having the ability to do it, I think's great. We did it a little bit more in Marshall just based on success.
Is there going to be anything like the band trip on Saturday?
It's a home game, isn't it? Not that I'm aware of. We'll treat it like a road game. We won't. We'll treat it just like a road game. We'll travel like a road game. Our hotel routine will be like a road game. What we do the night before, what we do the day of, we'll treat the whole thing like a road game.
You mentioned James Madison. What do you see on tape specifically on their defense that you like what they do?
Yeah, they tackle well. They're sound. They, technically, if you're fundamentally sound and you play with effort, what I see out of them defensively is what I want to see off. I want to see the improvement for us defensively. Getting off blocks, getting to the ball, and making tackles. Not doing it just 2/3 of the time, but doing it all the time. It's really pretty impressive watching those guys get to the ball and making tackles. So that's going to be a challenge for us offensively, is being able to sustain blocks. You talk about yards after catch or yards after contact. You don't get those without making tacklers miss or breaking tackles. So I think that's going to be a challenge for us, because those guys play with such effort and they do a good job of getting off the blocks and getting to the ball and making tackles. It's going to make our job offensively harder.
You mentioned making tackles today. Obviously, you mentioned it yesterday as well. Is that something you're just particularly impressed that James Madison does well, or is it something that you saw that you'd like your guys to do better coming out of the Marshall game?
Both. Smart kid. Both.
Can you talk about that a little bit, the focus you guys had defensively this past week then?
Well, it's something you don't get better at something unless you emphasize it. You don't get better at something unless you work on it. I mean, those guys do a good job defensively. They weren't, first in their conference and top 10 nationally in defense for several of their last, 3 of the last 4 years, or whatever it was. If they weren't coached well, and if they didn't have good players, and if they weren't fundamentally sound, and if they weren't, sure tacklers and did a good job of doing the things that I'm talking about, which is getting off blocks, getting to the ball, playing with effort, and making tackles. They do a good job of it, and that's what we want to see out of our guys.
David, do they look like anybody else that you'll see further down the line at Kansas State, considering they run the ball a lot, or is it a different type of style?
I don't know. I haven't studied what everybody else does offensively at this point, but they do use a tight end 90% of the time. Obviously, a lot of the talk going to the Big 12, how many teams do that? Again, I haven't studied what everybody's doing up to this point, but what it reminds me of is what some of the Big East teams had been doing. The old Northeastern football. It's what Big East team was. It's what West Virginia was before I got here. It's what Pitt was before last year. It's what Syracuse did last year. It's what UConn did last year. I do think the offenses in the Big East are changing. Said that last year quite a bit with what Pitt changed. We changed. Cincinnati changed with Butch going over there. Happened probably prior to Butch when Brian Kelly went there. Louisville, since Charlie Strong got there, has been a little bit more up-tempo spread. But what the Big East used to be and what UConn and Syracuse and Rutgers and those guys are doing now is what this conference, the James Madison's conference, is all about, and what James Madison's doing, which is trying to control the ball offensively, using a tight end, establishing the run, play action passing, trying to dump it to your tight end defensively. All about playing with effort. And, I think James Madison defended 62 plays a game last year. So that's much like what West Virginia defended before I got here. So it's the landscape of college football is changing slightly. I just don't think it's got to them yet.
You're mentioning that about how all this is happening in college football, and usually it filters the other way down from the pros to college game, I presume. But it seems like now the pros they're talking about, they had 6 games where teams scored 40 points or more. Is it changing that way too? Is it going that way?
It's like it's me. You saw the Baltimore game last night, right?
Yep.
I mean, that looked like a whole lot of up-tempo, shotgun, spread the ball around, try to vary tempo, get up, run reverses, throw the ball downfield. Whether it is or not, I don't know. I don't have time to study all the NFL offenses, but yeah, I think it's headed there.
Do you use game tape from when James Madison beat Virginia Tech at all as like motivation this week, or watch it at all?
I don't know. It's a good question. Probably have something on the highlight tape that references it. We did last year when we played Norfolk State. We referenced. I mean, and that's what everybody references. And every time the FBS team plays the FCS team, you're going to make reference to that. But it's becoming more and more apparent, and it's happening more and more. Back when App State beat Michigan, I mean, that was the talk of the year, right? Well, that's happening pretty much every week when an FCS team plays the FBS team. So, we're going to be ready to play. We're going to be motivated to play. We don't want to be talking about us this Saturday night.
Danny, your gray uniforms are a recruiting thing, right? This is one of those exposure recruiting trips, I think. Is this a time to bring them out, I guess, for the first time?
Maybe. I don't make that decision.
I know what the seniors do, right?
Well, the captains do, so. You can wear gray at home or on the road.
Right.
I think you can. So this is a home game, but you could also wear them on a road game. I don't know. I got a whole lot to worry about. Uniforms is not going to be one of them.
You said before you're treating it like a road game, but clearly this wasn't scheduled to be a road game. What do you take away as a team, as a program, playing in the DC area and at a pro stadium and everything that comes with that?
It's important to us to have a presence over there. It's important to us recruiting-wise. It's important to 20-some of our kids that are from the eastern coast over in that area. So all that makes sense to me, and Oliver and Dr. Clements, it's been important to them. I think once we switched conferences and we play a lot of our road games in the Midwest and the Southwest, that it became more important to play a game on the East Coast, because in the Big East you usually played over there 3 times a year. So from a family standpoint, from a recruiting standpoint, it's important to us to have a presence over there, and we'll take advantage of it. I think our guys like playing in the pro stadiums. I wouldn't like to have my home stadium be a pro stadium, but our guys liked doing it probably 6 or 8 times over the course of my career. Twice last year, actually 3 times, twice last year. They got kind of juiced up for that, so I think that's probably a pretty good thing. I think next year we're playing in the Ravens Stadium, so they get excited about that. Families do, friends do, recruits do, and our players do.
Have you had a chance to study them much offensively, and what do you think of what they do offensively?
Yeah, made reference to it earlier. They try to establish the run. Their quarterback's a dual threat guy. They'll run him some, they'll throw him some. He'll take off and run some on broken plays, or when the pass protection breaks down. The running back's a great player. It's probably their best player offensively. Their tight end is very important to them. They got some guys up front that look the part, play pretty good. They're going to try to establish the run. They're going to probably try to get the ball to the tight end, and then if you put too many people up there, they're going to try to win some one-on-one matchups outside.
Coach Matthews said yesterday that Scott was still hurt from their last game. How much does that impact them if he's not able to go?
He's a good player. It'd be like us not having one of our best players. So, yeah, but there's nothing we can do to worry about that. When we talk about us from an injury standpoint, we don't worry about that too much. We line up and play, so I'm not going to worry about whether their guys are hurt or not. He's a good player. He's a great player on tape. We're going to anticipate him playing. If he's questionable, then we're going to anticipate him playing.
You mentioned Braun on after the game, how well he had performed. You had a chance to study it now. Did he do that? And also Spain in that game, how did he perform?
Good. Was happy with all of them up there up front. We were targeted right. We got to our guy and we sustained blocks. And last year at this time we were talking about guys, being targeted right, which I do think we've always been targeted right. Coach Beatenbaugh does a tremendous job of making sure our guys are targeted right. But sustaining blocks is important, and it's light years ahead of where it was a year ago at this time. Not only with Jeff, but with Joey and Pat and Spain, and having Josh back brings a presence to our O-line, brings an attitude and a mentality to our O-line. He's played a lot of ball and he's got some pop to him. Those guys are playing well together. They're pretty confident group right now.
Take away Gino's touchdown. He just handed it to Bowie last week, or 2 weeks ago, I guess. He still gets 7 carries, 36, 37 yards.
Gino?
Yeah. What does that accomplish for you guys on offense? At least not even that day, just going forward, too.
It makes people think twice about rushing guys upfield hard, and it makes people think twice about dropping guys really, really deep in pass protection. Because if they're really deep in pass protection, they better have somebody spying them, because he does have great legs. And we've talked a lot about we don't want to run him a ton, but Gino being you can tell that's a sign of maturity. Last year, he would stay in the pocket, or he would run the throw, or he just would be slow making that decision to get upfield. And those decisions were all good, and then he's smart about it once he does. He doesn't run downfield and take a bunch of shots and all that. He gets out of bounds and gets us the first down and all that. So it's gonna pose a problem for some people.
Do you ever find teams spying your quarterback, though?
Never have. It would be a first for me. I've obviously never had a guy with the athletic ability that Gino has. I mean, he's really improved his size and his strength and his quickness and his speed. So he's obviously improved all those areas to where he feels. And the one thing that he said after the game, and I told you all this, is the game slowed down a little bit for him. So he's making better decisions, and he knows when to do that and when not to do that, and when to sit in the pocket and when not to sit in the pocket. I think that's a sign of his maturity as a quarterback and where he's at as a quarterback now.
Okay, you talked about JD Wisdom. A lot was written in preseason. You were happy with him, obviously. He became a starter, but 7 catches against Marshall. You talking about where his game is elevated to now, what he brings to the offense?
Yeah, I don't mind talking about him now. I did for quite a while. Doing everything right. I mean, shoot, he's even going to class. So he's doing everything right. He brings us a ton of energy. His demeanor on the sideline, his demeanor in practice, his demeanor in the weight room, even his demeanor in study hall now has changed. It's fun to watch a kid that didn't do that in the past look at his senior year and say, "Oh, I better get my stuff together here, because it's about over for me." And he took advantage of that, and he's taken advantage of being a senior, and he's matured in all areas of not only football but off the field as well, and is playing well. He's a guy that we're obviously going to throw it to.
Is Ryan Clark a guy you expect to give the ball to at all at any point here?
Maybe. Never know. I mean, running backs take a beating. Started the year with 5, Ryan being 6 last year, and we got down to where we're at 2 and 3. So that's a position that's tough physically. It's very demanding. Really happy with Sean, really happy with Bowie. But Ryan's probably the next guy right now.
guys, offensive, defensive coaches sit together, watch film, right? What,
Go ahead, Beth.
what did you see from cornerbacks and safeties as to how Marshall with the pass worked on your guys?
Marshall's offense against our defense.
Yeah.
That starts with pressure. Didn't do a very good job of getting pressure. We gotta continue to figure out how we get pressure, whether that's individual guys winning or whether that's through blitzes and you know, so it starts with that. He can't just sit back there. If he sits back there, he's gonna find guys, any of them. And Cato did a heck of a job of that. He did a good job of sitting in there, not panicking, and getting it to his open guys, and Marshall's got some good receivers. I give him credit for that. But it starts with pressure, and then defensively, we gotta match routes, and we gotta make plays on the ball in the air. Didn't do a very good job of that.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
Okay, appreciate it, guys.